Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, February 18th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. 2021 is projected to be a more difficult year financially, at least up to October, when compared to the same period of last year. This is according to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves during his weekly appearance on NBC Radio yesterday. The Prime Minister says in 2020, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the SVG economy still managed to perform comparatively better than in 2019 because primarily the island is not as tourism dependent as some of our neighbors and the strong start in 2020. PM Gonsalves says the first 3 months of last year had already seen a 9.5% better performance than the previous year, which was credited to a firm showing by the tourism sector.
In the first quarter of last year, our revenues, government revenues went up by 9.5%, nearly 10%. It's very good. And that's why at the end of the year, our revenues ended up with 0.5% above the 2019 number. We didn't lock down like some other places. It also has to do with the fact that though we are tourism dependent, we are not as tourism dependent as, say, Antigua and St. Lucia and Barbados and so forth. And we had revenue streams which kept us going. Some months we were up, some months we were down, but over the whole period last year, we were 0.5 percentage point above, from the preliminary numbers, above 2019. But that is so also because the first 3 months are 9.5% upwards, almost 10%. Last year was shaping up as a beautiful year before COVID. The hotels were filling up, were full. Plenty yachts were in the harbor. Over 100,000 cruise passengers came in that period. But we don't have any of that in this first quarter. What we had last year in the first quarter.
Dr. Gonsalves says at present, SVG has seen a reduction of $15 million in revenue only and $13 million in revenue and grants. The Prime Minister says while this does not present a clear picture of what the year will be like, it is not comforting.
Compared to 2019 January, we are $13 million down on almost $14 million on revenue and grants, and about $15 million down if you just take current revenue alone in the month of January. Can you look more than just January, because we'll have it up and down. But it's not comforting.
Dr. Gonsalves detailed the $9 million deficit the island realized in the first month of 2021, which is approximately $400,000 more than last year.
In the first month, on the current account, we have a deficit of $9 million because our expenditure didn't really fall. In fact, the total expenditure went up by about, in that month, by about $400,000 over last year. In the month of January, paid $27 million in compensation to government employees. You know, and that doesn't involve yet pensions for persons who are retired and so on and so forth. So it's, and they got their pensions too.
The Prime Minister also stated the expected current revenues were anticipated to be approximately $33 million less than projected after a scaling back of the earlier estimates.
You may recall that in the budget, we had made the point that when we approved the estimates last year, before COVID, $680 million we had expected to collect in current revenue. We revised it downwards to $605 million after COVID hit. This year we are budgeting to get $647 million, which would be about $33 million less than the number which we approved last year in January, indicating on our part that we expected 2021 that we would not be in a position as we would have been in January last year. And it's going to be a struggle to reach 647. And this is why I'm looking for money all about.
The Caribbean Development Bank has agreed to provide support to Invest SVG with institutional strengthening and capacity building. The CDB-funded strategic review of the agency was launched virtually today. CDB's Director of Projects, Daniel Best, lauded Invest SVG for its efforts in promoting and encouraging investments for SVG and urged the agency to continue to involve the private sector.
I encourage you to remain steadfast in your mission, which states to achieve sustainable economic development through investment promotion and export development. And I also want to encourage you to continue to play a leadership role in elevating the contribution of the country's private sector on the local policy agenda. This launch is a perfect opportunity for all stakeholders to exchange ideas and recommit our willingness to work collectively with Invest SVG to achieve a common goal in a strategic and effective way as the agency acts as a catalyst for private sector development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Best said the support being provided by the CDB is aimed at developing a stronger investment environment that would boost economic activities in the country.
Invest SVG will ensure enhanced capability to provide investment promotion and export development services in line with international good practice. And if I may be allowed to just add a rider to what Ms. Mark so eloquently outlined, the technical assistance will lead to the development of a new 5-year strategic plan for ISVG and the development and delivery of training to staff in the 2 key areas of export development and investment promotion. This strategic plan will strengthen the quality of business support services and advocacy for MSMEs in the country, taking into account their unique needs.
Best noted that the CDB is already funding a number of projects in SVG, which are geared towards improving lives and livelihoods.
So, in alignment with the SDGs, this project will focus on building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and fostering innovation. I should note that there is complementarity between what we are doing here and CDB's wider work with St. Vincent and the Grenadines in financing the modernization of the Port of Kingston, as it will facilitate improved efficiency of cargo port services, enhance environmental sustainability and climate resilience of the Kingston Port, and improve living conditions for project-affected persons.
Executive Director of Invest SVG, Annette Mark, announced today that Invest SVG will be preparing a 5-year strategic plan which will be aimed at transforming the way investments are targeted and done in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking at the launch of the CDB-funded project, Mark said the grant received by the CDB is timely, or that should be received from the CDB is timely, and emphasized the importance of such support. She lamented the difficulties the agency is facing in this pandemic, noting that the 5-year strategic plan will help to address a number of issues.
The strategic plan will lend definition to the direction that the organization should travel. It will aid in setting of realistic objectives and goals that are in keeping with the agent's mission and vision. In addition, it will provide a foundation on which the growth, evaluate its success, and establish boundaries for effective decision-making. It will also ideally allow the Board of Directors and the management a viable map by which to align the agency's resources and budget with its set goals and objectives.
Export development training, investment promotion, and introduction of new investment opportunities are all part of the strategic plan. Mark said that some of the work has already started, such as the training of staff. She added that the private sector will be included in the agency's strategic plan, along with other local organizations.
It's for this reason that Invest SVG's work will include strategic partnership with local bodies such as the Center for Enterprise Development and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and regionally with Caribbean Export Development Agency, and of course the facilitators of this project, Caribbean Development Bank. We will be working together with the private sector to not only help in identifying and taking advantage of opportunity, but also to ensure that we are part of the solution in addressing various constraints they face.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the board of Invest SVG, Anthony Regisford, said he is pleased that there is now a new vision to the way investments will be attracted in SVG, whether it's local or foreign. Anthony also believes that the business environment in SVG will be transformed to the benefit of all Vincentians.
I will safely say that the time is now, especially on the projects that require lead time for construction. So we really have no excuse not to execute those, not to put in all the work that is necessary to get those projects executed, so that by the time they are completed, we hope, and I'm very hopeful of this, that COVID-19 may not be behind us, but we will be ahead of it. So it is as good a time as any.
Complaints from the workers at the Argyle International Airport, AIA, on a number of issues continue to fall on deaf ears. So says the union representing some of the workers, the Public Service Union. President of the PSU, Elroy Boucher, told SVG-TV News that issues have been pending for more than a year, and most recently, with the pandemic, the union has been calling for more tests to be done on workers who are interfacing with travelers regularly. He said the other issues include increments, uniform allowance, and better working space for security officers in the cargo area.
There's a security room where the officers are housed. It's a small room, has no bathroom, no kitchenette, anything. It's a cramped space. And since June, we have asked for them to relook where they house these security officers. Nothing. We have written again, nothing. I mean, this is, and as Poya just alluded to, if anybody per se is to contract the virus in this environment, it is ripe for transmission. Okay, because it's cramped.
Boucher said the union wrote management several times last year and no response had been received. Most of the recent correspondence, he said, was done today.
Written to the CEO, Costel Robertson, I think is her name, correct, to have these matters addressed. We got no response. We wrote in June, we wrote in October, we got no response still. We also wrote the chairman of the board, Gart Saunders, following the fact that we were not getting any response from the CEO. We wrote the chairman of the board, who had promised in previous meetings that he's very open to dialogue and he would like all matters to be resolved quite peacefully through dialogue, of course. So we wrote him, hoping that he can make an intervention. We got no response from him also. So there's nothing forthcoming. We really don't understand, of course, the anti-union approach by both the CEO and the board itself.
Industrial Relations Officer with the PSU, Joel Poyer, said that an increase in complaints from the AIA workers was received over the past 2 weeks.
There have been a number of issues that have been coming for me to address. Foremost, the majority of them have been coming from the AIA, the Argyle International Airport, where for the past 2 weeks I have been bombarded with complaints that they've been facing out there, and we have not got any redress from management. I went through the file as late back as 2017, and I've seen there has been a plethora of correspondence between the union and management on a number of issues, some which are still outstanding. And I'm saying, for any proper productivity in a workplace, you have to have social dialogues.
Boucher, the PSU president, said that they are hoping that good sense prevails and a dialogue is agreed to, noting that now is not the time for manifestation of conflicts between any trade union and the management of employees.
We will give them time to respond. Having sent out this press release, it is signaling our intentions not to drop these issues, but to pursue them. And if the management and the board really studied the actions of the public service union over the years, they would realize that we are unrelenting. We do not give up on issues that affect workers. We do not. And we will employ all means necessary. Like I said, it is not, our objective is not to create disruption. That's not the objective. But if we have to go there, we will go there. Because if the issues are not resolved, we will do what we have to do. And we have already signaled to the workers, you've got to stand your ground. These matters can only be resolved if the management and board is forced to see that the union is not going to give way on these issues.
SVG-TV News made several attempts to get someone from the management of the AIA and the minister responsible for airports to comment on the concerns raised by the PSU, to no avail. St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Wednesday registered 7 new COVID-19 cases from 212 samples taken on February 16th, representing a positivity rate of 3.3%. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said 5 new COVID-19 cases have been reported so far for February 17th, with the positivity rate for February 14th remaining at 5% and February 15th at 2.4%. 104 persons were cleared, bringing the number of total recoveries to 736. 732 cases remain active, and 6 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,474 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is reminded to wear a facial covering, to physically distance, sanitize, and vaccinate to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Several proposals are being actively pursued or are under consideration after what is being described as a very fruitful discussion with government representatives and church leaders last Friday on the COVID-19 protocols for mass gatherings and their implications for religious worship and other church activities. The virtual meeting was hosted by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves with a representative grouping of the Coalition of Churches, comprising Pastor Stephen Oliver, Bishop Wendell Davis, Reverend Adolph Davis, and Pastor Ranald Murray. The meeting was also attended by the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Simone Kieser Beach, and Cabinet Secretary Kathy-Ann Barnwell Scott. A release from the Office of the Prime Minister said during the very fruitful discussions, several concerns were articulated and a number of suggestions and recommendations were proposed. As a result, the following proposals are either being actively pursued or are under consideration. Church leaders to notify police in their district of funerals that are scheduled to facilitate the management of such gatherings, particularly with regards to the procession. Funeral services to be held not later than 11 a.m. to ensure the completion of burial before 3 p.m. To support this, cemeteries will be closed at 3 p.m. Funeral homes to be requested to refrain from playing live or amplified music during their funeral procession, and a review of the current COVID-19 mass gathering protocol as they apply to churches to be undertaken within the next 3 weeks. In addition, the release says the members of the committee have agreed to meet with other members of the Christian community, particularly the leaders of churches who appear uncooperative or non-cooperative with the current COVID-19 protocols, to encourage support for the measures to curb the spread of the virus. The church leaders, have also reportedly agreed to consider taking the vaccine in support of the vaccination drive by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, and a meeting is to be held between the Chief Medical Officer and the church leaders soonest on this matter. The St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited VINLEC is partnering with the Health Services Subcommittee COVID-19 Task Force in its efforts to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic here in SVG. To this end, the company made a financial donation of 10,000 EC dollars to support the fight against COVID-19. VINLEC said the donation will go towards the Hand, Space, Face vaccine campaign designed to focus on specific measures which have been proven to reduce the spread of the virus which causes COVID-19. The funds are to be used to purchase items to be distributed in areas identified by the healthcare professionals as highly vulnerable. So far, the committee has distributed 500 packages to residents in these areas, and this activity is said to be ongoing. VINLEC says it recognizes that the pandemic has created both public health and socio-economic challenges, and acknowledges the commitment and hard work of the professionals in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment and the Health Services Subcommittee COVID-19 Task Force, and applauds the effort of all frontline workers. The police here are investigating the killing of 44-year-old Rodney Cadogan, a chauffeur and shop owner of Chop-ins. The police say preliminary investigations revealed that the deceased was traveling along the Fairhall to Chop-ins bypass road when he was approached and shot by gunmen. At the home of the deceased today, his older brother kept saying that he still cannot process Cadogan's death. A friend of the deceased told SVG-TV News that she was on her way home when she heard the gunshots.
Well, I was coming from work at the same time when it happened. I can't say much because I don't know who will, I was in a van the same time when I heard the gunshot. I was in a van coming from work when I heard the gunshot.
And this is around what time?
It's about 6:30, minutes to 7. We didn't get you to see the body because they was doing the investigation. So we didn't get you to see the body.
The friend said that she has not known Cadogan to be a menace and his assailants and suggests that she would like to see the perpetrators brought to justice.
Yes, he was a dear friend to me. He all the time used to open up and tell me anything at all. We joke. We could say it was like family, and to see that really happened, it's break my heart. I can't sleep, I can't eat. Just thinking of him because my best friend is gone. He gone, and I know he's not coming back. But may his soul rest in peace, and may they catch the people who do these horrible things to him. But there's a thing in the past and stuff like that, but I don't really know what happened to cause that. But for me knowing him, he is a good person, he's a cool person. I can't say nothing bad about him, he's a cool person.
The police say the motive surrounding the fatal shooting is unknown at this time. Cadogan's death marks the 4th homicide for the year 2021.